so smooth, makes me wanna groove. Patrice says groove.
It's Friday.
Every time you play
This is
so
Brenda
smooth.
Charles Edwards, the host of Seniors Matter. We're live every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on www.rainieravenueradio.world, your community radio station. You can also watch, listen to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV, and of course, the Rainier Avenue Radio App. We feature interviews with people that provide services or have valuable information for seniors, their family, and the community. Do you need financial documents notarized? Are you in need of documents being read to you for clarity or completion? Call me, Brenda, at Black Orchid Notary, 206-683-2636. Tell me where, I'll meet you there. Well, today we're going to be talking about brain health. And as you are aware, or maybe you're not aware, but this is Brain Health Awareness Month, along with a few other things too. But my guest today is Karen Winston. She's a senior planner, Aging and Disability Services, City of Seattle, Human Services Department, and she's going to educate us on the importance of Memory Sunday. And at this time, I would like to say, welcome, Karen, to the show. How are you, my dear?
I'm well, thank you, Brenda. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I know it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, I know how important Memory Sunday is, and the only person I know that knows about it as well as you is you. So, what is Memory Sunday, and what does it, and why does it focus on African Americans?
Okay, so do you have my slides?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, great. So the next slide, please. So before I get into Memory Sunday, I just wanted to introduce my team and provide some background information about, dementia and the impact on our community. So this year, my Memory Sunday community planning team, it's been a dynamite team, and it's made up of community-based providers. And new to the team this year are Rena Can and Angela Yancey. They both represent ARTH. And it's been wonderful having that addition to the team. And a shout out to Charlotte Ruff, a retired public health nurse. Charlotte is the oldest member on our team. She's almost 90.
Oh, right.
And she's been working with me on this effort since we started in 2018. And another just terrific team member. And she and Eudora Carter have spearheaded a lot of dementia efforts and support for caregivers and people with memory loss at their church, which is First AME. So we're really happy about that.
I know some of those ladies. They're wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So next slide. So what I'm going to talk about today is just to give an overview of Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I do have some information about what it is and how it impacts the brain. I'll also talk about dementia prevalence and disparity among African Americans. And then we'll launch into Memory Sunday, Memory Sabbath, and we'll talk more about that. So next slide. So here's your question. What is dementia? And just to get us on the same page, let's review a bit about dementia, because wherever I'm presenting, there are common questions. So dementia is a general term for a decline in mental ability that is severe enough to interfere with daily life. Dementia is not a specific disease. It's an overall term that describes a wide range of symptoms associated with the decline of memory and other skills. Dementia is caused by damage to brain cells from disease like Lewy bodies and Alzheimer's, also from trauma to the brain, for example, a head trauma or stroke. And this damage interferes with the ability of brain cells to communicate with each other. So when the brain cells can't communicate normally, then thinking and behavior and feelings are affected. But it's important to realize, I want to stress here, that dementia is not a part of normal aging.
Thank you
It's
for saying that, Karen.
it's not inevitable. There are, you know, normal things that, forgetfulness that happens, as we grow older.
Like,
But
where did I put my keys?
yeah, forgetting, when you walk to the room and what did I come in here for?
Right.
Right. That's normal. But, some of the signs are, if a person keeps asking the same question over and over, that can be a sign that maybe they need to talk to their doctor. Or if you get lost in places that are normally familiar with you, that can also be a sign. So let's go on to the next slide. So to be considered dementia, not only does the impairment need to be severe enough to impact your daily life, but there are changes in two or more functions of the brain, as you can see on the screen. Your memory, it can impact your communication and language. As we said, your ability to pay attention and to focus, your reasoning and judgment, and sometimes there's some visual perception issues too. And dementia is an umbrella term. See, because a lot of people refer to Alzheimer's as the term that describes all. Actually, it's dementia, and Alzheimer's is one form of dementia. Um, I read somewhere that there are over 100 different types of dementia. Some of them can be impacted and changed because, some dementia can be caused by, medication interactions. And, if you have if you experience some changes that are concerning to you, and you started a new medication, for example, then that's something to talk to your doctor about. So again, dementia is the umbrella term for a number of different types of dementia. And just to name a few, there's Alzheimer's, Lewy body, frontotemporal dementia, vascular dementia. That's the one that's most common among African Americans, kind of, directly due to, uncontrolled high blood pressure and diabetes. And also there's a dementia that's associated with Parkinson. And lastly, alcohol related dementia.
Is
Next
that what
slide.
alcoholics could tend to get?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and overuse of alcohol
Yes.
definitely can impact the brain. Okay, so let's talk about some disparities and what Alzheimer's disease, the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease in Washington State. So Alzheimer's is the third leading cause of death in the country. It's also the third leading cause of death in Washington State. And between 2020 and 2025, the number of adults age 65 and older that ADRD, Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, is projected to increase by 16.7%, so almost 17%. So as the age ranks continue to increase, due to that bulge created by the baby boomers, so too will people, so too will the impact of, what am I trying to say? The growth in the population will also see the growth in those impacted by Alzheimer's.
Karen, do you have information where African Americans fall into that category?
Yeah, if we go to the next slide, we can see that almost 2/3 of
Wow.
of Americans with Alzheimer's are women. And I don't have a number of African Americans, but I can tell you that older African Americans and Hispanics are twice as likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's when compared to whites. And typically, and unfortunately, our people are typically diagnosed at later stages.
Mhm.
So again, the next slide, please.
Does that have to do with lack of healthcare access?
Yes, I think that is a component, but then, sometimes there's fear associated, with seeing a doctor. Um, Sometimes we ignore the signs,
Mhm.
you know,
Don't get a
and
second opinion?
yeah, and and don't get a second opinion. So, um, let's see. And there's a lot of stigma around having dementia too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of associated with the fear. We feel like something's going on in our mind and our memory. We don't want people to know, because of the stigma, and people will kind of isolate us, treat us
Mhm.
differently.
Right.
And in reality, when people are diagnosed with, or I should say, even though they're diagnosed, there's still a lot of capacity that
Right.
people still have, and are able to function. But that's why that early diagnosis is important. So you can create a plan for the future when your memory, because we know that Alzheimer's is a disease that declines. There's no cure for it yet.
Right.
So, but we can put things in place so that as we decline, if we have the disease, and we don't have to worry about the legal issues or who's going to take care of us. But, that's why it's important for that early diagnosis so that you can do, the advanced planning and get your affairs in order.
Correct.
Okay. So next slide. So just a little bit about caregiving. And when compared to white caregivers, Black caregivers are more likely to provide, more hours of caregivers, and I mean of caregiving, and Black caregivers are more likely to care for their loved ones who have dementia. And Black caregivers are 69%, almost 70% less likely to use respite services.
And that's very unfortunate. And
It
probably
is.
part of it's because maybe they don't know what's out there for them, right?
Yes, Brenda, you hit the nail on the head. And nationally, we have a shortage of caregivers. So that's another reason. Next slide. Now, a lot of these caregivers, we call them the sandwich generation because they're kind of caught in the middle. They're raising a family and children, and at the same time, taking care of their older loved ones.
Right.
And approximately 1 in 7 of caregivers provide financial support to both a parent and a child. And about 2/3 of these caregivers are also working
Mhm.
outside of the home. So imagine that you're raising a family, working, and taking care of a loved ones with dementia. Um, the amount of stress that these caregivers endure it's just unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
believe it. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
So next slide. I'm going to go over this one very quickly. It just kind of gives the cost of family caregivers, those that are not professional caregivers, and you can see that the value of unpaid caregivers. So, and these are those family members out there that
Karen,
are
would you
taking
read
care of
that?
them.
Because some of the people listening can't see it. They're on the radio or they can't see
Okay,
the numbers.
sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
So, and there's an estimated number of almost 300,000 caregivers. And I'm not sure if this is specific to King County or nationally, but the hours, it's, about 429 million hours of unpaid caregiver
Mhm.
hours. And then the amount of resources, that's $1 billion that's the value of their unpaid care.
Right.
Okay. So next slide. So let's get into Memory Sunday. And now I'll address your question, Brenda. So Memory Sunday, first of all, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And this is a time where Memory Sunday is shared, specifically this initiative is specifically for African American churches because, again, our people are 2 times more likely to be diagnosed with dementia. Typically, it's recognized nationally on the second Sunday in June, but because June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, it could really be any Sunday in June. And the purpose is to really educate the congregation about Alzheimer's, what it is, about preventing Alzheimer's and taking better care of our brain. And one of my colleagues, in fact, Brenda Kimmons, who is the Beverly Kimmons, who is the diversity and equity and inclusive manager at the Alzheimer's Association. She says, what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So remember that. We do things to take care of our hearts, like eating the right foods, getting the right amount of sleep and exercise, good nutrition and being social, and challenging our brain. All those things that are good for our heart are also good for our brain.
I like that.
So this is an opportunity also for congregations to learn about the latest treatments that are available for Alzheimer's and research studies that typically lack, BIPOC and African American participation. We need to be involved in these research studies, particularly if we're concerned about the outcome of some of the medications that are developed to address it. People are afraid of the medications, but if the trials are representative of our community and there's proof that they're effective, then that's, more reason for people to consider these drugs when they come available. But
Karen, along that line, and you know what the fear factor is. How
yes,
do we minimize the fear factor?
well, you got to learn about what is being offered or being requested of your involvement in the trials. There's many different trials. Some, all of them are not related to taking something. Some of them may be related to, if you exercise in a certain way for a certain amount of time, and they measure the impact of those kinds of things on the brain. So there's a number of different studies that may appeal to different individuals, but you have to look into it and do the research and find one that's best for you.
Is there a database that lists different types of trials for African Americans?
Yes, the University of Washington, there is a link to a lot of their studies and opportunities to join those trials. I knew you were going to ask a question that I wasn't prepared to answer.
Well, that's a
but
good
I
point,
can
though.
give you that link, in the future to share
Sure.
with your audience.
Yeah, you'll be back.
Okay. All right. So the last thing on the slide that I want to highlight is that Memory Sunday was created by the University of Kentucky. There's Sanders, Brown, and Center on Aging. And this concept was then adopted by the Balm and Gilead, which is a Black organization that promotes healthy Black churches. And that's where I learned about Memory Sunday. Next slide. So wait, can we back up? I just want to back. Okay, just a couple of comments about the Memory Sunday Toolkit, because this is a resource that is really invaluable for the churches. So Memory Sunday is a model where, we're providing, information and outreach to the congregation about Alzheimer's and dementia and how to take better care of your brain. There are resources that are provided to the churches that participate in this. And one of the resources is the Memory Sunday Toolkit. And this is a wonderful toolkit because it not only does it have information about what Memory Sunday is, but it has information about, screenings that churches can do with their members. there's an initial screening that there can be some signs as a result. And you may want to say, well, you may want to talk to your doctor if they weren't able to pass a question on the screening. Not all churches do the screenings, but it's available in the toolkit. Another thing that I really love about the toolkit is that there are a lot of suggestions in here about what churches can do to support the caregivers. Remember, we were just
Yes.
talking about the burdens that some of these caregivers experience. The churches can step up and do a number of things to support their caregivers. For example, sometimes caregivers just need a break, a time out. And sometimes the churches can help arrange, an evening of, self-care for caregivers, or a retreat, for self-care and worship for caregivers. And there's just a number of suggestions. And
What's
sometimes
the website? Excuse me, Karen. What's the website for the toolkit?
you can find the toolkit on the Balm and Gilead website. It's right there on the slide. The last
For
bullet.
those that can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. www.balmandgilead, all one word, .org.
Would you spell bomb just in case someone may not
Okay.
know?
Okay. www.balminggilead.org.
Thank you.
O-R-G. So one more thing about the toolkit, there are a lot of pastoral resources and scripture references and liturgical resources, prayers and call and response. There's social media suggestions and templates in the toolkit that churches can use to post on their website. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful resource.
And all this is free?
And all this is free. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Okay. So next slide. So for the churches that participate in Memory Sunday, there are resources that are provided to each of the churches. And these resources are provided by the Alzheimer's Association, my organization, Aging and Disability Research Services, and also the state and the National Institute on Aging. And these are just a picture of some of the brochures and resources that we provide. A really valuable.
Excuse me, Karen. How many churches are participating this year?
This year we have 20 churches participating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations, my dear. That's an increase.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to my team. I have a wonderful team. When we started this effort in 2018, we started with 4 churches. 2019, we grew to 5. And then, the pandemic hit.
Right.
But a lot of the churches started providing their services virtually and online. And because of that, we had a greater amount of churches participate because they were willing to post things on their website. And we asked them to really say a special prayer for the caregivers in their congregation, because caregivers, they struggle every day, even before the pandemic. But the pandemic made it even worse. So we were asking participating churches to really lift up the caregivers in their congregations in prayer. And so 2020, I believe we had 20 churches. 2021, we had a little bit over 22 churches. Last year, the number dropped to 15. And this year, we're up to 20 churches again.
Wonderful.
So the next slide is just another example, another picture of some of the resources that are provided to churches. The next slide is a picture of we call it the Memory Sunday fan. On the front of the fan is a Maya Angelou quote, "Still I rise." On the back of the fan is information, again, about warning signs, and encouraging words to, take care of or to monitor your high blood pressure and your diabetes, more carefully. And then um, the 24/7 Alzheimer's helpline and the Center for Multicultural Health, their information, and also the Community Living Connections information, which is the front door to the network of aging providers.
Karen, we have 1 minute left, and I
Okay,
wanted to make sure
and
that
that's
you
the
said
end of
something.
my slides.
Okay, but make sure you say something quickly about the event on June 8th.
Yeah, so next Thursday, I just wanted to announce that I'm working with the Alzheimer's Association, who is coordinating a resource fair for caregivers, caring for the caregivers, that will be held at the Tukwila Community Center
Mm.
from 10 to 11. We'll have about 20 different resource tables made up of community providers locally and from local community providers and throughout King County. Lunch will be provided. There will be opportunities to engage with other caregivers. Um, we'll have consultation there. If you're struggling with issues, you want to talk with someone about how to handle the issues, we'll have someone there to consult with. Um, there'll be a art room. There'll be all kind of fun things for caregivers, not only in resources, but in food and fun and networking with each other too. So please come out and join us again. That's next Thursday, the 8th, from 10 to 2 at the Tukwila Community Center.
Oh, that's great, Karen. Thank you so much. I've been to the fair before, and it's really good. It's very, very informative. Food was good too.
Yeah. Okay, great.
But Karen, thank you so much for being on. I will have you on again because there's so many things that you're involved in, and it's all for our benefit. So this is Brenda Charles Edwards, Seniors Matter. We're here every Friday. I would also like to give a shout out to Patrice Isley for the music that she's allowed me to play. And I would hope that you have a great weekend, be safe, and live your life like it's golden. Talk to you soon, Karen.